This is a Clouds weather alert.
Good late Tuesday, early Wednesday from wherever you're watching. Depending on where you're watching, I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud giving you that latest information right now on terms of that severe weather potential across parts of the country. You can see we'll get into our local forecast here in just a moment to kind of break things down, but it's kind of a hybrid type update here in these early overnight hours per se, as things have been kind of tricky in terms of that severe weather forecasting. I know it's been a complicated setup. It's going to remain a complicated setup, a complex setup here, even in the word out Wednesday. Still going to be on guard for any type of strong to violent tornadic activity as we look ahead into ward the timeline here. Right now, though, we're not seeing any tornado warnings or tornado watches, which is some good news. But you see that red area here on the board, that is a 15% tornado risk here for mainly parts of Arkansas and up into ward Missouri there, just in case things do start getting going in a discreet fashion. Because if that were to take place, then we'd have to watch here for a potential here for maybe some stronger tornadoes to take advantage of the higher supercell composite values, for instance, and then also I'll go ahead and say those first. Those are really high, and then your significant tornado parameter here. But in the overall formation we're in right now, that's not going to be the case. So that's the good news here. But we'll just have to continue to watch things in the weather center as the situation does transpire on us, just in case things take a turn or maybe really go back and look here like last week how they took a turn toward parts of Arkansas. So let's go ahead and zoom on in right now, though. You can see, we'll go ahead and kind of give you guys that better viewpoint of what's going on. You can see here in this red, I mean, that goes up to about Springfield, Missouri or so, as you're looking there, just off toward the east of there to be precise, but kind of in that general area here is where we're most concerned. This red 15% risk, but then there's a 10% risk here as well surrounding that. So we'll just continue to monitor the situation. We'll continue to keep our eyes on it here to see how things evolve on us. And then you see a severe thunderstorm warning put to the west. Some of this stuff should become more of a line here, which in turn would maybe limit that tornado threat a little bit here, especially the strong to violent tornado threat. But we would still have maybe some spin up tornadoes along it and then move further off there toward eastern areas here as we look later into toward the overnight hours. So again, quite a bit to watch. It's been a busy period here lately in the weather center, and it's going to stay busy. We'll be here again on guard watching things here as they do evolve. And this also has a blizzard side to it. I mean, you can see these colder temperatures here toward the north and west, folks. I mean, we're talking about readings here in the teens and the 20s. I mean, that tells a story. Those are blizzard conditions with that precipitation that are falling as snow. But also, I know the Weather Service in Little Rock continuing to watch things here. They've kind of gone back and forth here in terms of how they've been seeing things here because of the models going back and forth. I mean, their forecast has been consistent, but what I mean by that is that they're just saying right now that maybe as we get later in the word tonight, there could still be high severe potential with any storms that are able to develop or mature here in this red area. So it's a really tricky situation here, folks. That's why we're kind of maybe a little scattered brained here, even because it's been a very complex scenario that we're dealing with and that we'll continue to deal with here as we look later on into toward the timeline. So again, we'll just kind of have to watch and wait here, and this threat is something that we'll be paying attention to. You do see a severe thunderstorm watch here up toward the north. And in terms of just some of the warnings and play, again, we talked about a one in Kansas a little bit. This is toward areas there of southeastern Kansas, Elk, Wilson, Woodson, and parts of Greenwood County there, and toward that area about 12:15 local time. We're talking about 6-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-size hail there. And then as you can see, eastern parts of Iowa here, talking about areas around Cedar Rapids, and we're talking about the potential there for 60-mile-an-hour winds and maybe hail to an inch. There's also a tornado possible tag in here, so we'll watch for some rotation there around highly populated Cedar Rapids. Nothing's really set up too well in that rotation track mode, but we'll monitor it just in case. It's more of a wind and hail threat there at this point, but we'll continue to watch it now. Looking at some of these different areas here up in toward Wisconsin, you have several warnings up here that are worth noting. You can see as we get further up toward the north there, just north of Milwaukee, there's a warning in play. We have another warning there just north of Madison. So just gotta keep watching this stuff. I know that warning around Milwaukee there, hail to about an inch in size and winds to about 50 miles an hour or so. And then half dollar size hail off toward the west. These temperatures are pretty cool. And I mean, that's going to limit your tornado threat up there for sure because of the overall environment that we're in. But we'll just continue to watch here, continue to track. Again, I'll go ahead and zoom back on out now. Just trying to give you guys the latest here, as I know it's going to be a matter of how much and how a cap here in the atmosphere kind of breaks on us to determine exactly what could happen here as we look ahead into toward the timeline. Again, it's just always intriguing to see how things develop on us here in the atmosphere, because that can have a big, big impact on how storms could or may not evolve. We don't want them to evolve. Obviously, folks have been through a heartache here in the North Central Arkansas and across several other states here with the tornadic acts we saw there Friday and Saturday. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody impacted by everything that really has occurred here. There's so many tornadoes, so many deadly tornadoes. Even on Saturday, a deadly tornado in Delaware, which is something you just really don't hardly ever see. So again, that just goes to show you how dynamic the atmosphere has been here. Kind of caught in a break here in a lot of cases so far, but again, don't lay your guard down. Have multiple ways to get alerts here overnight, just in case things kind of take a turn on us here. So I know we're just looking at some different things. Earlier there was a tornado there in toward parts of Illinois that was pretty well defined on Doppler radar. We just decided, based on it impacting more rural areas there and not having a tornado emergency with it, just to go ahead and retweet the information from the National Weather Service there in Lincoln, Illinois, and then also from the NWS tornado account. It was in pretty rural zones. If it was in a more popular area, it would have been more likely to get a tornado emergency. Probably on EF2, EF3 based on some radar estimates early on and some damage glances there so far that I've had a chance to look at here. Just kind of taking those. But again, that's just kind of intriguing stuff here as we look at the overall scenario. Again, a kind of a scenario that we're in that is just you're not really sure what's going to happen, to be quite honest. We just have to stay prepared here. So let's go ahead and take a look at those tornado safety tips here. We'll go ahead and go on over here toward our tornado safety tip graphic. Just a tornado watch. If some of those get issued here later on in the war tonight, just make sure you stay tuned for the latest. And then thunderstorm watches, tornado watches, whatever, just charge this device in case you lose that power here. Just have those multiple ways to receive alerts. I mean, this is so important here. Whenever a tornado warning is issued, that means a tornado has been detected using radar or spotted. Try to avoid taking shelter in a mobile home. I know that's so important when you have these type of situations. You do not want to be in one of those if you can help it. Get inside a sturdy building, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and just protect yourself as well from that flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet or football helmet, something along those lines. So important here to protect your head from what could occur there, and then even put those shoes on there for the aftermath of a tornado that could come on through, because you don't want to put your feet up there after that does move on out there and you're trying to get it out of your home even. So let's go ahead and see now, though, some more information in terms of just the overall scenario as we get toward that Wednesday. You can see that orange area on the screen here on that April the 5th. You can see from about Memphis all the way through to Troy and up through most of Michigan there. We have a 3 out of 5 severe risk, and there's even some strong tornadoes that could be a possibility. I know some of this stuff could be more on a squall line, be more likely to happen in some regard because storms would actually be there for sure. But we'll have to watch instability factors here too to see how they play out. But if we get supercells, of course, in an environment here that's really favorable for tornadoes, then that could really become problematic with some strong acts and on that enhanced strategic scale, which we're talking about EF2 plus there. When you have stuff like that. But now we did have EF1 tornadoes touch down on Monday in parts of our area. I know it just day after day almost, it seems like we've had to be on here to give you guys the latest, and we were on there a lot on that Monday. We had 2 EF1 touchdown there, 2 EF1s touchdown there in parts of Decatur County, causing moderate damage, but we really had just a lot of wind around that region as well. It got to 79 there in that county. I mean, that just goes to tell you how nasty things were there. We were with you the whole way to keep everybody protected there on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and Twitch. And of course, we cover our 62 counties there. And you see Decatur County. I'll point it out if I don't catch it right at first glance, but just above my hand here, Looking there, we had a threat going into Grady as well. Not as much of an issue over there, but still, we did have some issues all the way across with that storm. It was a really water-fine storm, and we were here guiding you through the scenario all the way. It's just always important to protect everybody out there as we go ahead and see you now. That look at that rainfall forecast for the next 7 days. You can see here, southeast Texas is going to get quite a bit of rain here, 5+ inches possible. You see some of these other areas that are toward the local region. I know we could use the rain in some instances. Further to the south, you go into toward north central Florida. I know I definitely could use that precipitation, but we're not going to get a whole bunch here as we look ahead. I know I've seen here about 1/4 of an inch there, maybe a 1/2 an inch, something like that as we get up there toward the first coast. But again, nothing that's too overwhelming here. Which, I mean, if you want to break from the storms off toward the west, you might get some of that here with the rain amounts that we're going to be getting. They're not going to be as pronounced here as we look ahead in toward that timeline. So that's some good news here for sure as we do look ahead in toward the days here in toward that weekend. But there will be some rain around. Again, though, at least maybe not much of a severe threat there. But you can go to cloudweather.com/radar for an interactive look at things when we're not on the air. And then also, fog is going to be an issue here as we get later into toward the night here. I know we're keeping our eyes on that in the Weather Center. We're going to be watching for that potential. Looking over there and not seeing too much right now, maybe a little toward Volusia County there showing up on our system. Some shallow fog being reported there, but we'll continue to watch. Just keep these tips in mind, though. If you encounter a fog scenario, definitely keep these tips in mind. Again, we're already with you a little bit later on here in the night because we wanted to keep an eye on that severe threat here in addition to that local forecast and just kind of tell you about that here at the same time, since we didn't have to come on earlier like we were anticipating. We probably have to. The situation just didn't warrant it here. Roy is seeing the tornadics in there relatively confined, and then not even that widespread there toward Iowa or Illinois. So again, it's important to keep these informational details in mind, though, as I go ahead and see that extended forecast now, that planning forecast. You see at 90 degrees, it's going to be warm here, folks. Downright hot in some cases, I guess you could call it. And then same toward that Thursday. Definitely just going to be interesting here to watch as we look at this forecast. I know just keeping our eyes here on our details. I know some of those rain chances are a little bit off for whatever reason, but trust me here on that. We do have 10% chance actually on that Wednesday, 20% on that Thursday, 30% on that Friday, 50% on Saturday, 50% Sunday, 30% on Monday, and 20% on Tuesday. I don't know why that didn't update. In fact, I can go ahead and do that real quick for you guys. I'll go ahead and update that for you. It's just been a long stretch here in the Weather Center, so just kind of bear with me here as I do that. I'll go ahead and step out of the way, and somehow that didn't update our rain chance information, but we'll go ahead and go back over to the Doppler radar here in just a second in the interim here, just to kind of give you guys a look at that severe weather potential there off toward the west. So again, we'll go ahead and just remind you, I mean, it's a very busy pattern that we're dealing with. Again, around here, not so much. I mean, we had the craziness as we were looking there. We had the craziness as we were looking there back on that on Monday there as we got toward areas like Bainbridge. Just always interesting to see all that here. But again, as we get out toward the west, you just got to keep your tornado safety tips in mind here. I'll go ahead and pop those up real quick even. We just want to kind of go over those here so you guys know exactly what we're talking about here in these tornado-like situations and tornado situations in general. I mean, they're very important tips to keep in mind here. So just want to pass those along real quick before I switch you back over to that Doppler radar view. So let's go ahead now. I'll go back over to the Doppler technology for the time being here, as I just wanted to kind of reiterate our tornado safety tips out there at the present time. So again, you see we only have a few warnings really in play at this point, but we'll be continuing to watch things here in the Weather Center, continuing to give you the latest information just in case to protect you, protect your friends, protect your family here. It's just so important to me here at Cloud Weather. It's just something that we want to do here in these type of situations, because you know, I mean, it could make the difference there. In your case, it very well could make that difference here as we do look ahead and toward the timeline. So just gotta always be prepared here. We don't have any really local severe threats still in the 7 days, but that logo's red here because of that national concern still, significant national concern. So let's go ahead and go back on over toward the graphics right now. You can kind of see here, I got that 7-day right now. I don't know why I didn't update those rain chances, but that's the better representation of that. You see 10% on that Wednesday, 20% on Thursday, 30% on that Friday, 50% for the weekend. So a little bit of rain around even for that Eastern, and 30% on Monday, 20% Tuesday. They're dropping off some, but you can kind of see here, just kind of seeing a scenario here where things are going to be above average for sure, but then try to get a little bit closer to average as we get later in toward that timeline. So I'll go ahead and step back in front of the wall now that we got that fixed. Just wanted to make sure we gave you those accurate numbers here with that 7-day forecast as we look further on out in toward the timeline. I think we pretty much covered everything we need to. I know you've already heard about it, but Hurricane Ian's name was retired. It was also upgraded to a Category 5 there. After the fact, it did end up hitting those still as a Cat 4 towards Southwest Florida, but at a point in there before it made landfall, it got to a Category 5. But again, we'll be here in terms of that severe threat as and if needed here overnight and toward Wednesday. I hope we don't have to come back on. That'd be great here. Rest up, be back here for that formal update late Thursday. But just the overall pattern will probably promote some severe weather potential. We need to be on for it in terms of maybe some higher end potentials. But it's not a guarantee here. And if we don't have to come back, of course, you have clutter.com/radar here. We're not expecting local severe weather, so that's the good thing about it. We were thinking we were really going to see a big maybe outbreak here of tornadic activity. Haven't really seen that yet, but again, it's just a one-man band here trying to keep you guys safe and informed here in the Weather Center. But I think that's pretty much going to do it here for now. If we need to be back on later in the night, we'll be here giving you that latest information. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in.